It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete. Another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports.
Left wing for three. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Brought to you by Any Hour Services, Electrical, Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
It's another college football game day, and this week it is BYU and Wyoming for the 80th time in Laramie. We'll have you covered to get you started early on this college football game day. 12-3, breaking down the game. Matt Baiamonte and Mitch Harper. I think it's a game that not a lot of BYU fans wanted to play, but yet here we are.
I agree. It's not a game that anyone was excited or pumped about, but now that it's here and BYU's had some success to begin this year and Wyoming's down and out, I think he can get on board. And honestly, too, it's a new dynamic to go into a game where it's not like, oh, this fan base just loves BYU and they're going to have this food service project. They will have that, of course, in Laramie. But it's like you're walking into the Hornet's Nest. You're walking into the Cowboy Roundup, and they hate you. And that's a dynamic that we're not used to anymore with BYU. We're used to now, like, oh, they're the most beloved fan base, the most favorite team in the Big 12. No, you're going into a venue where you are absolutely hated. Even after all these years where BYU hasn't played in Laramie for 15 seasons, they still hate you. And I'm excited to see how BYU responds to that because that's a different environment that they're not used to every single week.
We got some player interviews for you as you get ready. Tyler Batty, your weekly check-in with him. We'll have him in a little bit. I also caught up with another defender, Jack Kelly. That's good stuff. We'll play that as well as we get you ready for the Cowboys and the Cougars. Oh, by the way, we have BYU starting quarterback Jake Retzlaff.
Yes, it's a loaded show. We got Waylon Lapuaho as well, loaded over the next 3 hours, getting you ready for kick. Of course, tonight, 7 o'clock, BYU and Wyoming on CBS Sports Network for TV. Of course, the radio call will be right here on your legacy home of the Cougars. But let's get to the leadoff.
The leadoff. A look at the stories making headlines right now. It's time for the leadoff on Cougar Sports Saturday.
The leadoff. Man, there's a couple different ways we could go with this. I think we start with this because this is, Mitch, what all the fans want to know. Where does Jake Retzlaff sit right now in the eyes of Kalani Sitake, in the eyes of Aaron Roderick? Earlier in the week on Cougar Nation, and we'll have another edition of Cougar Nation this Monday, 6 to 7, breaking down whatever happens against the Cowboys. Fans are hot about the quarterback situation, and here's what Aaron Roderick had to say about a potential shift at that QB spot.
Well, the most important thing is we were always still in a good position to win the game. And so no one has a license to just make mistakes at any position indefinitely. But we were always in a good position to win the game. He did make a lot of good plays in the game as well. There were some things in that game that were outstanding. But, yeah, I mean, I'll just say no one has a license to just play poorly for forever, but he did a lot of good things as well.
That could make a good James Bond sequel. I'm ready for another James Bond movie, License to Make Mistakes. Doesn't that just sound like it fits in the 007 canon? But there you hear it from Aaron Roderick. It will be Jake, but he has signaled through the media that you just can't keep making these mistakes.
Well, we talked about it on Cougar Nation earlier this week, Matt, that this is an opponent that's risky for Jake, where it poses a great opportunity to put up some numbers like you did against Southern Illinois, because Wyoming's not good. They are not good. They're physical up front. I expect an improved performance from Wyoming today, but this is a game where Jake is going to be expected to put up some good numbers, and BYU's got to score some points. If he doesn't and they struggle and there's a couple costly mistakes, it creates an opportunity where Gary can step in. And when A-Rod said the license remark, I thought of you thought James Bond. I thought Superbad McLovin, you're an organ donor. That's what I thought. I was like, because I thought, oh, McLovin. Well, are Cougar fans going to love Jake Retzlaff today? I feel like they will be content with the performance because again, Wyoming's
10's not good enough against Wyoming. I'm sorry. If it's not Southern Illinois level, then this team sucks.
How does
Mitch.
the license
There's
get
no
revoked?
other way to put it. This team sucks.
How does the
Wyoming lost at home to Idaho? You can't have a so-so performance against this team.
Does the license get revoked if BYU wins 24-3?
No, it doesn't.
I could see that being the score today. Is that enough? Is 24 points enough?
24-3 is offensive, though. And to me,
a 3-touchdown win in college football on the road?
24 points, man. That's just not going to get it done moving forward to Big 12 play. This offense has got to be better, man. They got to run the football. They don't have a player on the roster, Mitch. And we'll get to this in just a minute because there is news in the world of BYU running backs, in the Harvey Unga running back room. There's news there, and we'll get to it. But they don't have a single player on this roster that has rushed for 100 yards yet this season. We're 2 games in against 2 mediocre college football teams. Like, this offense has to put up more than 24 points. And if it doesn't, then I don't know if a quarterback change is needed or a scheme tweak is needed. I don't know. But 24 against this, come on. Arizona State scored, 60-something?
Well, I just give Jake a little bit of grace with the quarterback situation being a little bit light today, but still, I expect BYU to take care of business in this game. This was Aaron Roderick earlier in the week on the running back situation, how you're not going to see L.J. Martin and Hinckley Folau-Rapati.
Yeah, they're not going to play. They're not ready. So we'll play Miles, okay, and Enoch Nawahine, and then we have Sione Moa and Pokai ready to go as well. So those will be the 4 guys that travel, and there's a chance all 4 could play. You'll see a good dose of Miles and Enoch, and then the other 2 are ready to play, and good chance they'll be in.
I would not be surprised if we see Pokai today. Pokai Hunga, a true freshman from Timpview, returned missionary this past winter. He was a standout in spring and fall camp. Fall camp, he's more with the second, third team unit, and wasn't getting any first team reps, but I really like Pokai, and I've been high on him this whole offseason. I think he's got a higher ceiling than Enoch, but Enoch actually performed last week. So we'll see how it goes with this running back situation. But that is something I'm willing to give a little bit of leniency to Jake because it feels a little bit one-dimensional today potentially.
The last time we saw Miles Davis in a feature role, it was against Wyoming a couple years ago, and it was over 100 yards. So I also love, too, that Aaron Roderick and the coaching staff just came out and said it. It's like, these guys aren't going to play.
Yeah.
It's going to be Miles and Enoch. Great. Give them the platform to know that we're the guys and we need to perform. And I just love that. Like, that was a little tidbit for me. But give these guys the stage, give them the opportunity, and let's run with it rather than, I don't game plan this. We can't show our cards that. No. These are the guys, and we're going with them.
I'm noticing some trends, though, with this coaching staff. When the opponent they hold things close to the vest, BYU will then hold things close to the vest. Wyoming was very transparent. Their top running back, he's out. He got injured in fall camp, and they said weeks ago he will be out for the Idaho and BYU games. I almost wonder if it's like this, well, you're doing it, we'll then do it as a sign of sportsmanship on our side. I don't know. That could be deep state thinking, but I've kind of seen some trends with that where some teams, they want to hold off their depth chart reveal on BYU week, and BYU's like, hey Kenny, are we going to get that depth chart? It's like 130. Are we getting that? That's a deep cut for people in the media, but just something to keep in mind. But you're right. It was nice to say, you know what? We're going to spotlight Miles. We're going to spotlight Enoch, and they get the chance to be celebrated and have their family rally and be like, yes, this is our son's opportunity to make a big impact. And I'll say, Miles is a guy that, the coaching staff said in January, well, we're sad to see you go, but see ya. And then Aiden Robbins goes to the NFL draft, and then they kind of beg for him to come back. But it's an interesting turn of events because they thought, you know what, it's probably better for you to just move on. Now it works out that he's back, and he's taken on probably an RB1 role today.
And he had a huge play against SMU. I mean, that run down the sideline for the win, essentially.
And he's fast.
Yeah. He's a playmaker, and I'm excited to see what he can do with a larger share of the running back reps.
We need to get a better nickname for him, though. I know Anish Shroff, the ESPN anchor, and I like Anish, but the Jazz man, like, we got to do better than that, right? I know the Miles Davis, Billy Madison. It's pretty easy to pull that reference.
What about Miles Kenny G. Davis?
Oh, we need Producer Nate, can we get some like saxophone, some just lovely music bed coming in with some Kenny G? We get some, but Miles Davis, I'm excited to see him and Enoch and Pokai and heck, even Sione Aimoa. You want to talk about standouts in fall camp? We saw a lot of Sione Aimoa.
Right. That's right. I don't hate this group for this game. Sure. In a perfect world, you'd love to get Falau and LJ back as quick as possible. But for this game, this group should be serviceable. Though, this is an interesting game just from an emotional standpoint. I hate to go down this road a little bit, but it feels kind of like how BYU felt towards Utah in the midst of that 9-game winning streak, where Utah was like, hey, it's a rivalry, but we're just going to do our thing, right? And BYU was like, we got to get this one. Feels a little bit like the roles have been reversed in that regard, where for BYU, they're acknowledging it's a rivalry game. Wyoming really wants this one. BYU defensive coordinator Jay Hill has been telling the players that this particular game, they got to be ready because Wyoming's going to give them their best shot.
They're tough guys up front. They have not been necessarily rolling, putting up big numbers yet, but I've kind of said it's almost like they're a wounded dog right now. We better be ready to go because they've got great coaches, they've got good players, and they've got good schemes, so we got to be ready for their best shot.
He said they're wounded, but they're not eating their dogs. I'm kidding. I had to do it. It was right there for the taking. What a week that was, by the way.
Please,
Our friends Boyd Matheson and Jeff Kaplan, you handle that. We will enjoy BYU football game days. Thank you very much. And we are excited today for BYU football game day, week 3. These days are so important because you only get 12 of them guaranteed. And I'm excited to see how BYU performs in this spot because Jay Hill's right. This Wyoming offense has not performed well, and BYU's defense has been outstanding through 2 weeks. They should dominate Wyoming. I'm not worried at all anything about what Wyoming's doing offensively that should scare BYU, but I do think it's that element of maybe they just get right for a week and it clicks for them and they give BYU a tougher test than what we've seen through the 2 weeks. But personnel-wise, there's not much that should scare BYU from Wyoming.
I'm having a hard time focusing after the wounded dogs comments.
I had to go there.
I feel like a cast member on SNL is trying to keep it together after that, the wounded dog.
Hey,
but yes.
People say I am a riot at parties. I am a riot. I am the life of the party sometimes. You don't always see that. Like typically at BYU, practice is very buttoned up and very, very just kind of not cold, but a little bit just business-like. In games, it's all business-like. Does Mitch sleep? Does he want to just – it's all work. It's all no play for Mitch. But like sometimes I'll loosen up. I'm feeling good about game day today. BYU, Wyoming, it's Mountain West, it's WAC, it's old school. Let's bring on the nostalgia. Millennials love nostalgia, Matt. Come on now.
Let's take a break, Mitch.
Let's do it.
I need to regroup after the
I need to recalibrate.
Wounded dogs comment. We'll keep breaking down this matchup. A lot more to go. Don't go anywhere. It's BYU and Wyoming coming up later tonight. We're getting you ready for that matchup here on Cougar Sports Saturday, brought to you on KSL News Radio.
Happy game day, Cougar Nation. BYU versus Wyoming. I'm coming to you from Laramie, Wyoming. Didn't think I'd say that again, but here we are. First time BYU's visiting here since 2009. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte with you. We hold it down every single Saturday here on Cougar Sports Saturday, noon to 3. And right now, we had a conversation with BYU QB1, Jake Retzlaff. All right, BYU, Wyoming week, here with quarterback Jake Retzlaff. And Jake, how do you feel going into this week, the preparation that this offense is showing in practice, getting ready, maybe a bounce back from the offense last week?
I feel really good about the guys this week so far. I think we've already had way better practices than we had last week. Wednesday is a crucial day, and we had a really good day today in practice. And yesterday, I think the guys were super physical, really got after it. And so I'm excited to see these guys come out on Saturday.
Aaron Roderick noted that sometimes the offense just has to eat a negative play. How do you balance deciding when to eat a negative play versus trying to make a play?
Well, that's the game, isn't it? It's definitely a balance, and it's something that any quarterback's got to learn. And I feel like that, those meetings with A-Rod and talking to him about it, I feel like that I'm getting better at that every day.
You're a guy that can improvise. Do you feel any hesitation after what transpired last week, more thinking about
avoiding the turnover rather than just making plays?
No, we never talk about avoiding things because in your mind doesn't process that. It only processes what you say. It doesn't matter when you say not this or for this before you say that in your mind. So I believe in protecting the football. That's something I can tell myself. I believe in ball security. That's something I can tell myself. And making plays. That's something I can also tell myself.
How much confidence is gained from you as the quarterback, but also the offense, that tight situation, you put together a game-winning drive?
It's definitely something that we hang our hat on a little bit about being tougher at the end of the game. Being tougher is a big deal. And we didn't run those stadiums and do those summer training for no reason. And we attributed back to that. We attributed how we came together in the offseason in the summer doing those workouts. You asked Coach Phyllis and his staff. They put us through some really hard workouts, and we came together as a team in so many ways. And that just showed last Saturday when we were tired, when the other team was tired in the fourth quarter, we had to make a drive happen. We made it happen.
How much do you attribute your knowledge of the playbook now in those moments where, okay, maybe it hasn't been the perfect game, but in that moment, because your knowledge of the playbook, you're able to lead that offense down the field?
Yeah, I mean, always. Just that's what the big thing about the offseason is, still getting in the film tape and stuff like that, and watching, a lot of tape is you can really understand what this offense is about and what we do really well. Late in the game, I mean, we just executed our game plan in our our short yardage game plan in the fourth down late in the game. That stuff was all game planned out, and it's not like we were pulling something from the archives to run it on game day. It was all in the game plan, and the guys executed it really well.
How does this BYU offense get the passing game going like you did in week one?
Just keep trusting those guys, keep throwing that ball downfield, trusting those guys up front to protect it up, and sling the ball around the yard.
How much trust do you have with Miles and Pokai and Enoch and all those players?
100%. I think it was a seamless transition last week when Enoch came in the game and ran that touchdown. It was a seamless transition when Miles caught the pitch on fourth down for 37 yards. And that's just what you're going to see on Saturday, more seamless transitions. I trust. Our running back room is really, really deep. If we got down to the ends of it, I trust those guys. And so Miles, a lot of game experience. If you look back at the 2022 Wyoming tape, he was all over that tape. So I trust him infinitely. Enoch is a tough, hard, physical runner. Kahuku boy, so we got a lot of trust in him too.
A few more moments with BYU quarterback Jake Retzloff as we get ready for BYU and Wyoming. You mentioned the tape. What has stuck out about this Wyoming defense on the tape?
I mean, it's what doesn't stick out on tape, but what we know about them being a tough physical team, them playing BYU as hard as they possibly can because of the rivalry that dates all the way back to Mountain West days and stuff like that. And so the tape is the tape, and we're watching it, and we're game planning a good game plan. I like what A-Rod has got cooking right now. But we got to know that we got to come out and get firing because they're going to be playing with their tail on fire and they're going to come after us.
Has any of the former players or Kalani come out and said just kind of what this game has historically been about? Has that message been relayed to you and this team?
Yeah, I mean, even today after practice, A-Rod relayed to the entire offense about how he's been up to Wyoming many times. And no matter what, we're going to get their best. And we got to be ready for that. We got to be the more physical, tougher team on the field on Saturday, and that's not going to be easy. Not showing up is not going to do that.
Last thing
earlier with the media that you got to keep your helmet by your side at all times up at Wyoming. Where did that come from? What's the story behind that?
On your head is the actual teaching point there. I've heard about cans being thrown. Yeah. I've heard about glass bottles being thrown, and so I don't want to enter concussion protocol before the game starts. So I'll be running out with the helmet on.
Last thing for you, Jake. How much are you enjoying being QB1 and preparing week after week as the guy, and the pressures that come with it, and the criticism, but also the benefits of being the BYU QB1?
I mean, it's awesome. Obviously the QB history around BYU is incredible. Just to be a part of that, just to put my fingerprint on that, I'm just so grateful for the opportunity. I'm grateful for the opportunity that A-Rod's put in front of me, and the coaches I know they're all behind me, and being able to run out there with this group of guys around me is second to none. And so I'm so grateful to be able to do this, every week.
Well, best of luck, Jake. We'll see you in Laramie, and like I said, best of luck. Stay healthy.
Appreciate it.
Good stuff from BYU's starting quarterback, Mitch. It's going to be really interesting to see how he balances the gunslinger mentality. I know he hasn't necessarily been given the platform to be a gunslinger because they don't throw the ball 50 times a game, but you can tell that he wants the home run plays as often as he can get them, and it's cost him at times. It'll be curious to see how he balances that against Wyoming, taking care of the ball, checking down when there's 6 yards to be had rather than forcing a turnover.
Jake is better when he's loose and he's kind of got the whole field to operate and improvise. And it'll be interesting to see if he comes out tight at all, because Roderick's comments did not silence the chance to go to Gary. And I appreciate A-Rod saying that, because if they really believe that they had two QBs that they can win with, well, then make the change if someone's not playing well. But I do hope, though, that Jake responds well. I do think he's a guy that thrives on criticism. Like, it fuels him. Like, he might be the type that probably does look at social media.
Right.
And then he's glancing at it, and that's making him mad. And look, if it works in a positive way, great. Hopefully it doesn't sink him, though, because this is a stage, again, that if it goes south, Matt, and you say you go the first 2 drives and it stalls, 3 and out, and a fumble or a pick, Erod might have to dial up that phone and make a bat signal call down to Kalani.
Jake thrives, I think, like you said, with his back against the wall. I thrive when I'm opening my front door and getting deliveries. And I'll tell you what, Beehive Meals, a Utah-based meal prep service specializing in preparing convenient, slow cooker freezer meals designed to simplify dinners. They recently announced, Mitch, their exciting expansion for their service. They're going to be going to new states this fall: California, Oregon, Washington, Montana, Nebraska, New Mexico, Wyoming. They're playing Wyoming, and then they're going to be delivering to Wyoming. Beehive Meals is a game changer. It is so exciting when you open the front door, you get that delivery. You know you have easy yet delicious meals at your fingertips. It's a beautiful thing.
They've delivered, when you bring up all those states, 2.5 million meals
Wow.
over the Intermountain West. So Beehive Meals.
And it's a young company, too. That's a lot.
One of the fastest growing companies. I think Inc. 5000, they were number 399. So they're one of the fastest growing, and they're Utah-based and great meal service. You know, we had some of the August family style menu. It's the September menu as well. The September menu's got apricot chicken.
It's elite.
It is S tier, as my son said. And I was like, I agree, son. This is really good stuff. The creamy lemon chicken, too. Anything chicken, I love that in these meal prep, and Beehive Meals does it better than
hey, if you're bringing the kids into this, my 4-year-old sometimes comes up to me and says, "What do we need? What do we need?" We need Beehive Meals, Mitch.
That's right. We do. The meatloaf is awesome as well. So Beehive Meals, we appreciate them being on board, and they're a proud sponsor of BYU Athletics too, which is pretty cool that they're helping these BYU athletes that you see competing every single week on the fields of play that you love. So appreciate Beehive Meals for being on board with Cougar Sports Saturday. Taking a break here from Laramie, BYU and Wyoming. We're getting you ready for game day as the Cougs take on the Pokes tonight. We'll talk more BYU football next here on Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete. Another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports.
Left wing for 3. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Brought to you by Any Hour Services, Electrical, Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Welcome back in. It's Cougar Sports Saturday. Matt Baiamonte and Mitch Harper. We've had a lot of great interviews. Of course, they all exist on our podcast feed, Cougar Sports Saturday, wherever you get podcasts. But if you missed these, well worth a listen. Here you go. We're here with BYU linebacker Jack Kelly. 2 weeks through the season. What do you think of this BYU defense so far?
I mean, it's been great, really seeing everyone bond and come together. Putting in the extra time and effort throughout the offseason and through the season right now has really been showing off, and I'm just proud of all my guys doing their thing and making plays.
You weren't here last year, but there wasn't a lot of sacks. There wasn't a lot of quarterback pressures, and through 2 games, it looked like that is much improved. Why do you think that is?
I'd just say understanding the scheme and everyone believing in each other. I think when we all are truly understanding and believing in each and every one that is on the field, it makes you play that much harder, and it gives that little extra effort that it takes to make big plays like that.
Against SMU, you guys had to come up with the stand at the end of the game. It looked like there was some spy technique there on that last drive where you guys were shutting down Jennings. Talk us through that sequence and how effective you guys were at shutting down SMU on that final drive.
I mean, it all starts with the DBs at first because they got to cover for a long time. And then it does the great pass rush from the D-line and the linebackers covering, making the quarterback roll out. And then I just had to do my part because they all did their job, and then I just had to do my spy and make sure he didn't run for a first down.
From week 1 to week 2, it felt like you guys did a lot better in terms of containing that quarterback run. Why do you think the defense was able to make such improvements from one week to another?
all the coaches doing an amazing job coaching us up on what we need to do in order to stop that, and then also just game planning and play calling. Our coaches were able to implement some things and allow us to play those QB runs a little bit better, and I think that's just all part of it.
We're talking with Jack Kelly here. You've reviewed the film now, I would assume, from the SMU game. What were a couple defensive plays that really stuck out to you as being just great defensive plays in that win?
Obviously, that Mark Collins pick, that thing was huge. I think another one was, I don't know if he tried to pitch it, but the running back was falling and fumbled the ball after they just got the ball on a pick on the 3. So that was a huge turn of events. And then I'd just say all the sacks overall combined from all the D linemen and everyone, and Isaiah Glasker as well.
You mentioned Mark Collins. What do you make of the DB play from him and Jacob Robinson so far this year?
Oh, you can trust those two with everything. Even Shmev, Maury, you got all the corners that are doing their job, locking down. Mark and Jacob, they're going to be where they need to be, and they're not scared of contact, so they're going to be in the run game as well. But at the end of the day, they're going to lock up their matchups, and you're not going to have to worry about those guys. This
week you go on the road again to Laramie. What challenges does this Wyoming team face? Because they're winless. They've had some struggles, but what are some areas offensively that you guys have to be sharp on against the Cowboys?
Honestly, everything, because they're going to come in hungry. They want that first win. They're going to give everything they can to get that. So I think they're going to have some things for us that we may not have seen on film yet. So they're going to be extra hard in the run game, throwing extra shots, doing everything. So I think we've got to come prepared for everything.
This is a fierce rivalry from the Wyoming side. In a lot of ways, I think this might be their biggest rival. Has that been discussed? How much emphasis has there been on, hey, these guys are going to really want this game?
There hasn't been a lot, but Kalani has definitely talked a little bit about how it is a rivalry game and how we're going to have to come with our A game. You can't think this is any type of rollover game. They're going to come in ready to win and to beat up on us. So we got to come prepared and make sure we give all our effort.
What are some lessons you think you've learned about this defense through the first 2 weeks?
I just say that they're resilient. Everyone, no matter what is happening on offense, special teams, defense, we're all going to come next play mentality and give it all we got. If we give up a big play, we know that everyone's going to get lined up, do their job the next play, and get a stop then. So I think just resiliency and the will to be better. Everyone is coming in on Monday after the game and finding things they could do better. Even though we had a great defensive game, we're all hungry to get better.
How much confidence is gained through the situations that you guys have been through for these first 2 weeks? Specifically, numerous trips into the red zone by SMU, but time and time again you hold them out of the end zone. Is there a lot of confidence gained from that?
Oh, for sure. When you see your brothers making plays, that just makes you believe in them even more. So when everyone's doing their job and you see it all playing out how it should, it builds confidence for the whole team. And even I think it builds some confidence with the offense too, because they know that we're going to go out there and do our thing. So they have trust in us that they can go and do whatever they need to do to get the ball in the end zone.
How much fun has it been playing with Harry Taggart and Isaiah Glasker? This linebacking group is playing at such a high level right now.
It's been so fun. Obviously, I've known those guys since high school, so we had a little bond from then. And then just getting to know them on a personal level here, and then all the bonding we did over summer, it's been great. Those two have been helping me, I've been helping them, and we've just really been able to play on the same level and be able to make plays side by side.
Harry's got the green sticker on his helmet. How much of an adjustment has that been from your perspective, getting calls from Harry rather than looking to the sideline for signs?
It actually hasn't been too much yet. We've been still doing a lot of sideline signaling, so we haven't used too much of that green dot, but as we get further down the road, I bet we're going to start to get the calls from Harry more than the sideline.
A few more moments with linebacker Jack Kelly. We're getting ready for BYU and Wyoming. Earlier in the interview, you touched on that defensive line. How have they played from your perspective through the first 2 weeks?
Wonderful. I was watching film, and there's things that you don't see on the stat sheet that they're doing, and it's crazy how much knockback they're getting off blocks, making plays, making things bounce to the linebackers so they can make plays. So it's really a lot of things that you might not see on the stat sheet, but they're causing havoc up there, and I'm really proud of what they're doing.
How nice was it to have Jay Hill kind of back in full go? I know things have changed. He's up in the box, but it had to have felt more normal this past week with Jay Hill back calling the defense.
Yeah, it's great. Obviously, knowing he's up there calling the plays, he's been coaching us all week, so it's always good to know that we're going to have his full and best effort, and it honestly gives you another sense of purpose for someone to play for, because we have our bodies that we're able to use, and he almost didn't. So it's like I need to do what I can right now for him, just because of the situation that he went through.
Sounds like that experience galvanized you guys a little bit from the scare of the heart attack. Feels like maybe there's a little more or emphasis to perform for Jay Hill.
Yeah, for sure. You never know when your last day is going to be. That's what Coach N has been telling us all week. Like, you could have your last down right now, and we don't know that. So play every play like it's your last, and just make the most of every opportunity.
You have a unique connection with Jay Hill, obviously from your time at Weber State, a long recruitment, a long relationship with him. Was that just shocking news back when it first came out?
Yeah, for sure. Like, at first I thought he was like playing a prank on us or something, because he wasn't in meetings. So I was like, what's going on? But then once I heard the news, it was like almost made me super emotional. Like, I was like, this guy that has been building a relationship with me for like the last 5-6 years has just almost lost his life. So yeah, it was definitely a hard time.
Last thing for you, what do you think the keys are defensively to get out of Laramie with a win this week?
I would just say do our job and trust the brothers that we have built on this team. If all of us are doing our 111th, I think it's going to allow us to play fast, physical, and stop the run, which then will lead to them having to throw the ball, which will get sacks, and that creates harder things for the offense. So I think as long as we play assignment sound football and we all trust each other, we're going to come out of there victorious.
Thanks for the time, Jack, and good luck against Wyoming.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're taking a break. This show brought to you by Any Hour Services, feature sponsor here of Cougar Sports Saturday, right here on KSL News Radio. Welcome back into Cougar Sports Saturday here on KSL News Radio. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte with you from Laramie, Wyoming. It's game day. BYU and the Pokes kick off tonight at 7 o'clock, and it's just another game in the Week 3 Big 12 slate, which already has 3 games in the books from weeknight action. Let's get a conference
check-in. Powered by Central Bank. Everything happening in the Big 12 this week.
Conference check-in sponsored by Central Bank, and I mentioned those games that took place on the weeknight slate. Thursday, Arizona State took down Texas State 31-28. The Sun Devils were down 21-7, and then they stormed back and got a good win in San Marcos, because Texas State is a team that could be the Group of 5 college football playoff team come December. So good win for the Sun Devils, who now improve to 3-0 on the season. On the flip side, on Friday night, Kansas, they continue to struggle. They fall to UNLV 23-20. Now, UNLV is a good football team. It's not a bad loss, but it's just bad from the standpoint of you're now 1-2 going into Big 12 play, and the thought that Kansas was maybe going to be a conference title contender, that's not looking too good, as the Jayhawks gave up a 9+ minute drive to UNLV. It was a scoring drive for the Rebels, and they now have 2 wins over Big 12 teams. UNLV does, Houston and Kansas. So the Kansas offense with Jeff Grimes not doing so well. Jalen Daniels continues to struggle. He had 2 interceptions last night in that loss to UNLV. The showcase game of the week, maybe in college football, was Kansas State hosting Big 12 newcomer Arizona, but keep in mind, it was not a Big 12 conference game. It was a non-conference game, as it was previously scheduled in another season. Kansas State rolled. They scored 31 unanswered to defeat Arizona 31-7 in Manhattan. Rough night for the Wildcats, in Arizona Wildcats, that is. And I saw some posts from Jason Shear, Arizona reporter, that Arizona buses then crashed after the game. No one was injured, but just a rough night all around for Arizona, as K-State's Avery Johnson had 17 carries for 110 yards. They, of course, play BYU next week in Provo. That's going to be an 8:30 kick next week in LaVell Edwards Stadium. The rest of the Big 12 action this week, Oklahoma State's currently taking on Tulsa on the road. Cincinnati against a longtime rival, Miami, Ohio. North Texas is facing Texas Tech. Texas Tech, of course, hosting the Mean Green. Coming up here in the next hour. West Virginia on the road in the backyard brawl. That's always a good rivalry game. West Virginia, I'm curious to see how they perform. They're a favorite in this game, but how they showed up in week 1 against Penn State was very underwhelming. And even in the first half last week against FCS foe Albany, I think this is a moment here for West Virginia to really show their true character of who they're going to be this season. Baylor takes on Air Force at 5:30 tonight. Going to be a hot one in Waco as kickoff temp is expected to be 98 degrees. It's a scorcher down in Texas. BYU, of course, will go to Baylor in 2 more weeks. Colorado, Coach Prime, will they bounce back after that abysmal performance against Nebraska? They take on Pac-12 newcomer Colorado State. Yes, it's Big 12 versus Pac-12 on the Front Range. Just a little bit south of me here in Laramie, 66 miles down in Fort Collins. Coach Prime and the Buffs will take on the Rams. First Big 12 game of the season is in Fort Worth. TCU is going to host UCF, 5:30 p.m. on Fox. That should be a good game. TCU's a slight favorite, but man, UCF's ground attack with R.J. Harvey and Penny Boone has been one of the best in college football this season. Houston takes on Rice at 6. Utah is up in the Cache Valley in Logan coming up in another 2 hours or so. Utah going to be taking on Utah State, 2:30 kick there. You can listen to that game on our sibling station, the KSL Sports Zone. And then the nightcap, of course, BYU and Wyoming, 7 o'clock kick here in Laramie at War Memorial Stadium. So that's your Week 3 Big 12 slate in the conference check-in, which Cougar Sports Saturday always sponsored by Any Hour Services. We appreciate them being the feature sponsor of Cougar Sports Saturday. But for all the news and notes around the Big 12 Conference, download the KSL Sports app and listen tomorrow, 10 a.m. to noon, right here on KSL News Radio. Myself, Alex Curie, 1st and 12. We break down everything that took place in the Big 12 Conference this weekend. We'll recap it all tomorrow, 10 a.m. to noon, right here on KSL News Radio. Taking a break. On the other side, we'll get to an interview I had with Tyler Batty as BYU game day rolls on. Cougs getting ready to take on the Pokes right here on KSL.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete. Another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports. KSL Sports.
Left wing for 3. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Brought to you by Any Hour Services, Electrical, Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Every single week here, joined by BYU defensive end, all Big 12 selection, Tyler Batty. And this week we've got so much to unpack. The big win in Dallas, 18-15 victory over the SMU Mustangs, and then a trip to Laramie, Wyoming, as undefeated BYU, 2-0 BYU, gets ready to take on the Pokes. And Tyler, good to chat with you. We got a lot to discuss.
Yeah, it was. It's been a busy week.
That win over SMU, how rewarding was that moment for this team?
It was awesome. I think to go in and play a really good team with a really high-powered offense, good defense, to be able to come out on top of that game felt really good.
18-15, and you look at the score, it was a SMU team that was averaging 54 points, 9-game home winning streak, and they didn't have a single touchdown. How rewarding was that?
Yeah, that was big time. It really was. That was, something we were all really stoked about. I think you look at the scoreboard and it's like, you gave up 15 points. Maybe that's not as much as we would like to have given up, but when it comes down to it and you're looking at 5 field goals and no touchdowns. I mean, I think overall, the defense played really well. And that helped us win the game.
How much adjustment was there in game for the defense when SMU settled in on Kevin Jennings?
Honestly, not a whole lot. Their offense is pretty similar, with both quarterbacks. Granted, Jennings runs, right, a little bit more. He's going to run the football a little bit more himself, scramble and try to pick up yards with his legs. Um, our game plan really didn't change, though. That's something that we had prepared for, something that we were aware of and ready for. And so it was just, hey, shut down the QB run. If they go QB power, if they go QB counter, any of the zone read stuff, just do your job. Do your job and make the play.
That felt like the best performance for the BYU defense since Jay Hill took over. And, of course, Coach Hill was back, calling the defense. He was in the box once again. But, 3 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, fumble recovery by Jacob Robinson, a heady play by him, 7 quarterback hurries. And this whole defense, it just felt like you guys were playing fast. It just felt like a great performance.
Yeah, no, and I think it was. I think, of course, there's things that we could have done cleaner. But I think looking at it from that perspective, I think I agree. I would say that is our best defensive performance under Coach Hill. I think it's also, gives people a little bit of perspective, when it comes to changing coordinators, you know what I mean, offensively or defensively. Things don't change overnight. You hope they will, you pray they will, whatever. But I think it's it's taken us this long to get where we are. You know what I mean? It's taken us over, all last season and into this season. To have a performance like that where, I would say that, yeah, against a really competitive team, we not only played really hard. I don't think it's ever been about playing really hard. Our team does that, right? Yeah. But I think executing wise, defensively, yeah, I think this was one of the first games where it was like, all right, we're getting there execution wise, and so it's exciting because we'll just continue to get better with the season.
The defense looks and feels like you guys are just playing fast. Was there something this offseason that you guys worked on with speed, or is it just attributed to a better understanding of Jay Hill's scheme that's allowing you guys to play faster?
Both, right? We had a full off season with our new strength staff, right? So Coach Phyllis and his crew, Colby Clausen and Skylar Main, our sports scientists. So it's a collective effort, right, from that side of the building as well to make sure guys are healthy, are running fast. I think collectively as a team, we move a lot better than we have in years past. I think we're faster than we have been in years past. And then I think there's also the other component of that is, yeah, guys understand their fits in Coach Hill's defense, right? In this new defense, guys understand their fits, they understand their technique, and they're playing, right, with confidence, which is going to help.
I got to go back to the beginning of the third quarter in this game. SMU's first offensive series, they call a timeout. It's a 4th and short, and during the timeout, I'm seeing you on the sideline being attended to by one of the trainers. I think it was Mortensen, I believe. And I'm seeing in the press box, you're just standing upright. I'm like, oh, what's going on? Is he going to the medical tent? I don't know what's happening, but they're looking at, I first thought it was your neck, and then it comes to be your ear, and from a distance, and again, I'm in the press box, so this is a long way away. I feel like I'm seeing a bunch of blood come out. What happened to your ear? And I see all the dried blood on your jersey. We'll get to some of the big plays later, but what happened to your ear? Because after the game, it looked like you went through a boxing match.
Yeah, no, I know there's been a lot of speculation and a lot of questions about that from the game. It was just a weird play there. Yeah, in the third quarter. Just wrapping up, making a tackle. We were kind of gang tackling someone on our sideline, and I took a helmet to the ear. And so took a helmet to the ear. It happens all the time, right? You get a little pinch, right? It just stings for a second, and then on you go. No big deal. So it was annoying for a second, but it wasn't anything crazy. And I didn't realize that anything more than just a pinched ear had happened. I was like, oh, it just stings for a sec, whatever. Move along. Play a couple more snaps, and then their offensive linemen start to comment on like, oh, hey, this guy's bleeding, he's he's got blood all over, and I'm like, shut up, dude. Like, it's probably a little bit of blood. Like don't get the ref's attention, whatever. He'll be fine. And then I look down at my shoulder, and I'm like, oh, that's a bit of blood. I wonder where that's coming from. And then just the way things went, I ended up getting subbed out. We had been in for a few plays at that point, so I ended up getting subbed out. And yeah, get over to the sideline, take my helmet off, and when I'd gotten hit there, it had pinched my ear hard enough that it had pretty much just sliced it and just left just a little flap. There's just a little piece of flesh hanging on and a little flap of skin holding it on. And so the ear was bleeding like crazy. Yeah, I didn't know ears bled that much, but they bleed quite a bit. So yeah, it was just gushing blood just all over my helmet, all over my shoulders. So got it to the sideline. They tried to clean it up and get it to quit bleeding, and back in we went.
Wow. Did you need any? I don't know what I'm looking for here. The cosmetic surgery this week to repair your ear. Are you good with the ear now?
So after the game, they stitched it up. So I've got like 5 stitches, I think, in there, just to clean that up. And but outside of that, they did that post game, and outside of that, it's been fine. So
yeah, in the moment too, in the third quarter again, it was hard to tell because I thought, is that blood? It felt like there was a stream of something coming from your, and I thought it was your neck at first, but then it looked like the ear, and I'm seeing your jersey kind of have a pinkish red look, a dried, and I was like, that's got to be blood, and then amidst all that too, it comes in a spot where it's a 4th down, and you had to miss the remainder of that drive, and credit to Logan Latui and Zay Banya stepping up and filling in relief. I thought, once again, a testament to this defense that one of the top players is out, still next man up, stepped in and held them once again to a field goal. It was an underrated storyline, I thought, to that game. So glad you're doing okay with the ear, first off. And clearly you were doing okay because later in the game, you had one of the most vicious hits I've seen you make in your BYU career. You've had some good hits, but take us through that hit on Jennings and how sweet that moment was. Just walk us through that moment.
Yeah, no, that was a lot of fun. So, we get back in the game, we get going, and we end up, later in the game, bringing a boundary pressure there, from the short side of the field. I was kind of dropping into coverage, but it ends up being run. So I kind of just start to flow towards the ball, and here comes Jennings. And so it was just one of those moments you're like, oh, all right, here, it wasn't much different than any other, tackle. It was just like, I've got a free shot on this guy, and let's see if we get that ball to come out. Let's see if we can, discourage his run game a little bit, and the attempt was successful. So
clearly, because he was having some success early on, I think just maybe a filling out process. It was by design. SMU was going to go to him, drives 3 and 4, and then drive 6. He takes over for Preston Stone after that, because you guys just dominated Stone. It was, they could not move. They had to make a change. But then clearly that hit, he was a little more hesitant to run the football. Clearly, yeah, that was a great hit. And what was crazy too, from my view, was the press box. It was a very isolated press box. It was hard to hear much from the outside in the stadium, but that hit you could hear in the press box. It was awesome. I think my live notes, I have a sheet of notes that I'm writing that go beyond kind of the stats and whatnot, just kind of like what's running through my mind live. And I put, my goodness, Tyler just had one hell of a hit. That was just like, that was next level hit. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I don't think he enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it.
That was a great hit. It was a great win too. And is there a greater appreciation for wins with this group after what you guys experienced last year?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the past 2 years, the guys that have been with us, for the past 2 years, 22 and 23, they weren't great seasons, right? they were underwhelming. They were frustrating. And so guys, yeah, absolutely don't take wins for granted, right? You know, it's not like 2020 and 21 where you just feel like you kind of show up and do your thing and we're gonna come out with a win. You know what I mean?
No question.
It's hey, we're gonna have to fight tooth and nail to get this done. And guys are ready to do that. That's the biggest thing is they're just like, hey man, let's whatever it takes, let's go find a way to win.
He's BYU defensive end Tyler Batty right here every week here on Cougar Sports Saturday. We're taking a break. This show brought to you by Any Hour Services, feature sponsor here of Cougar Sports Saturday right here on KSL News Radio. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte with you here on the legacy home of the Cougars. You can listen on the KSL News Radio app, KSLSports.com, and basically wherever you can get KSL News Radio, KSLNewsRadio.com as well. Part 2 of my conversation with Tyler Batty right now. BYU takes on the Wyoming Cowboys this Saturday night in Laramie. Have you ever been to Wyoming or been around Laramie at all?
Been through Wyoming. I have never spent significant time in Wyoming, no.
Yeah, it's Laramie's an interesting place. Now, it's going to be a sellout. Wyoming fans, they do not like BYU. Are you guys aware of that dynamic at all, that this is a big deal to Wyoming? And look, it was a big deal once upon a time to BYU. Are you kind of aware of that, just maybe the significance of what this game means for the Wyoming faithful?
Yeah, no, that's been brought up and yeah, so I mean, I've played Wyoming once, right, in my career in 2022. I don't think we've played them there since 2009 or something.
That's
It's
right.
been a while since we've played up there. And so I think some of that, is lost, but I think guys, they hear that like, is it really going to be that bad? I'm like, hey man, I've heard what you've heard. I guess we'll find out. You know what I mean? So I think guys are excited though. We have a team that isn't going to be, afraid of going into a hostile environment and playing. We have guys who relish the opportunity to do that. And so I think guys are just excited, for another game, and 2, for an atmosphere like that.
Any carryover between that 2022 team in Wyoming, what they do offensively, to this group? I know the head coach is a carryover from Craig Bowl and that regime. So is it still kind of they want to run it and they want to keep running it? I know they kind of pivoted in that second half in that 2022 game, but is it just a run-heavy attack still from what you gather?
It is. They definitely want to run the ball, but they're not in 12 and 13 personnel. Like when we played them in 2022, right? They're coming out in really heavy sets, really condensed formations. And yeah, are just trying to pound the ball. They play a lot more 11 personnel than they used to, right? So a little bit lighter personnel. I would say there's, of course, like everyone in college football right now, there's more RPO game than there was. So overall, I think it's similar. Like there's some similar concepts, but I would say it's different than what we saw in 2022.
It was that game in 2022. It's all kind of a blur. It's been a long time now, but I know that game had some of the storylines of the old rivalry then. But yeah, Laramie's an interesting experience. There's old stories of yesteryear of Lavelle Edwards saying he'd rather lose and live in Provo than win and live in Laramie. It used to be some heat back in the day in the old WAC and Mountain West days, but those are long gone, and now it just kind of feels like it's just, as Kalani said, take care of business. It's a business trip. Yeah. Go in, go out, and get the job done and play to the best of your ability.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's our focus. I don't think guys are looking past the game by any means. I think guys are very focused on going up there and taking care of business. But at the same time, I don't think they're adding more into it than there needs to be. Yeah. It's just, hey, we're going to go up there. We're going to do what we do. We're going to take care of business and yeah, come home. I mean, like you said, it's a business trip. So we're going up there to play some football and have some fun. But we're going to go take care of business.
BYU, Wyoming, Saturday night, 7 o'clock. You can see Tyler in action on CBS Sports Network this Saturday. You also listen on KSL News Radio or be at War Memorial Stadium. Hopefully there's a lot of blue in the stands. I know Cougar fans always show up. There should be a good contingent. It won't be as much, I would expect, as it was in Dallas. That was epic stuff to see how many Cougar fans were there. But, Tyler, best of luck, and looking forward to seeing you on the front range at altitude, the thin air of Wyoming. So should be a lot of fun. It's going to have a nice fall feeling, 50-degree temps in the second half. I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be fun. I'm excited.
That's Tyler Batty every single week throughout the BYU football season. We'll talk again next week. That was BYU defensive end Tyler Batty. Every single week you'll hear him on Cougar Sports Saturday. And Batty is someone that prides himself on his nutrition. Him and his wife, Elena, they're some of the best at meal prepping and kind of organizing their weeks when he's not at Legends Grill holding it down. Well, we've been doing a little bit of meal prepping too with our sponsorship with Beehive Meals. Beehive Meals does it great with their meal prep service, and they're a Utah-based company.
Love Beehive Meals, Mitch. It's been a game changer. And for people like the Baddies, that they have like healthy, macro-friendly options that you can have delivered right to your front door. They're so convenient. It's so easy. Life gets busy, man. And think about the Baddies, how busy their life is. He's a college football player. I'm sure they would love to be involved with this, and they will be because Beehive Meals is a proud sponsor of BYU Athletics. But, man, it's been a game changer in my life. You got young kids, not as young as mine, but I've got young kids. Dinner time's hard sometimes, man. And to have this option, the freezer meal in your freezer, you can put in the crock pot, but yet it tastes good. And the thing I like about it too, Mitch, is there's flexibility. Other services, these are the ingredients. It has to be this way. No, this Beehive Meals delivery service gives you flexibility to kind of work around the core part of the meal. It's been a game changer.
And the September menu is awesome because it gets you ready for fall. The apple cider pork roast, it screams like a fall meal. You're hunkering down, watching some BYU football. Put that in the enjoy your weekend and let that cook and get ready, and then come back home, watch the game, listen to the game, of course, here on KSL, and enjoy your meal. So Beehive Meals makes it easy. People like me can make it. Like that's what I tell people. That's the ultimate endorsement of it because
I didn't know you could use a crock pot.
It's easy for me. I'm not the greatest cook, but it's easy for me. And Beehive Meals makes it simple, and there's flexibility, the versatility. It's kind of like the BYU defense. They can do a lot of different things with it. So that makes it a lot of fun, Beehive Meals.
Let's take a break. We'll continue our coverage of the Pokes and the Cougs from Laramie.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete. Another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports. KSL Sports.
Left wing for three. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Brought to you by Any Hour Services, Electrical, Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
It's the Pokes and the Cougs later tonight from Laramie. We're breaking it down here on Cougar Sports Saturday. One thing I love about a regular game day Cougar Sports Saturday, Mitch, is a chance to avenge that painful loss from last week. I've been stewing about it for 7 days. I'm ready to go.
I'm ready.
The Cougar Sports Saturday Top 5. Mitch and Matt clash in a weekly battle of BYU sports knowledge. The Cougar Sports Saturday Top 5.
That's right, everyone. Top 5 on the road here in Laramie. That thin air, that 7,220 feet. You're about to enter into the mile high, Matt. The mile high of
Nobody refers to Laramie as the mile high. How could you disrespect Denver like that?
Oh, I always disrespect Denver. That's a far inferior city to Salt Lake. Denver should always be disrespected. I don't like their sports teams. There's nothing good about Denver. We are pro Salt Lake, so any chance we can get to Denver, I will say, though, you know what? I'll say it. I like Laramie better than Denver. I don't know. If
wow.
I'm taking
that's
that
the
back.
hottest take he's ever
I'm
had
taking
on this
that
show.
back. I instantly regret that one. Hey, I digress. Hey, let's bring in producer Nate Slack and intern Allie. Nate, what's on deck this week?
So I think one of the biggest storylines so far this season has been just how dominant the defense has been. And the defense held SIU to 231 yards of total offense and SMU 261 yards of total offense. It's probably safe to assume that they're going to be able to hold Wyoming under 300 yards just because they finished with 270 yards against Idaho and only 118 yards against Arizona State. Last season, though, BYU defense was not good. They held FBS opponents to under 400 yards only 5 times. So today's top 5, the 5 times last year that BYU held their opponents under 400 yards.
Good stuff. Let's do it. I think this will be a good list. I'm very excited to break this down.
All right, Matt, let's start with you.
Great. I mean, it's got to be Sam Houston, right? They have to be on this list. Thank goodness. I don't remember much about that game except it wasn't very entertaining and there wasn't a lot of offense.
Yeah, it was not great, but the defense was lights out. First Jay Hill coached game for BYU, and it was a shutout. So from that standpoint, it was memorable. But yeah, it was not one that Cougar fans are revisiting when they pull it up YouTube to watch the game over.
It was number 1 on the list, 185 yards allowed. But like you guys said, I think no BYU fan will ever think about that game. They're not going to watch that game.
Who was that D tackle you loved, though? That's what I remember.
Meatball.
There we go.
Meatball, number 2. I loved Meatball.
I wonder where Meatball's at these days.
That's a good question. I got to check in on him. He was like family for 9 straight weeks. I was making Meatball references all the time.
All right, Mitch, you're up.
Let's go with Cincinnati.
No Cincinnati. Cincinnati had 498 yards of total
really?
offense.
With Emory Jones at quarterback?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Jeez, Cincinnati had that much offense? That is wild. I don't remember this team having much offense, though. The Red Raiders of Tech.
Yep.
Number 3 on the list, Texas Tech, 389 yards. So just barely held them underneath that 400 limit, but yeah, 389 for Texas Tech.
Texas Tech is in a world of hurt right now. I don't know where they go. That was a team last year that we thought would be threatening to get to the Big 12 championship game. Didn't happen. And then this year, last year they lost at Wyoming, too, to tie it all in to Laramie. Joey McGuire, I loved the approach, Mitch, of local recruiting, keep the Texas kids home, but he might be out of a job at the end of this year.
It's feeling like the seat is heating up for him after that performance last week on the Palouse, and then in week 1, they barely beat Abilene Christian in overtime. It was 52-51. They can't stop anyone. I wish BYU was playing them this year because BYU, I think, would have an offensive explosion against those guys. They can't stop anyone.
Matt, a chance for the sweep.
A chance for the sweep. Nothing would feel better, let me tell you. Talk about sweet revenge. Nothing would feel better than a beautiful sweep, and I think I might have it. Did they hold those pesky Texas Longhorns? Let's go! Wow. I'm back! Woo! Because remember, Xavier Worthy had the big punt return touchdown, and Malik Murphy did.
That was the game Quinn Ewers was out.
Quinn Ewers was out, and Malik Murphy was rattled. And it's a shame that was one of the most putrid BYU offenses we've ever seen. Take out that Darius Lassiter miraculous catch. Did they even gain 100 yards? I'm being a little tongue-in-cheek here, but that was a bad offensive performance.
If they had the offense that BYU's shown against
Southern
Illinois.
If they had 2017's offense.
I don't know there. But yes.
Come on.
Yeah, no, it was.
17's
there
offense
was a
is better
chance.
than last year's offense.
What was it, 21-6 in the fourth?
Yeah.
Yeah, or 14-6.
Yes.
And then they had a late touchdown, and then it kind of rolled to 35-6, I believe. But yeah, BYU was competitive with Texas. It just they had zero offense to speak of.
Zero.
Good
offense.
win. You swept me.
Feels good because I needed to get that nasty taste. I gave that to you last week against Utah State 3 times.
You did, and it was a wonderful guessing by you.
Just for pride, Mitch, do you have any guesses on 4 and 5?
I'm gonna go with. Let's try Oklahoma State. I know Ollie Gordon had a big game, but Oklahoma State, are they on there?
They had 503.
Oh man, bad guess, Mitch. How about Arkansas?
Arkansas had 424.
So that was close. How about Southern Utah?
I didn't count them because they're FCS,
okay.
But they did have 346.
The Jayhawks.
Kansas 351.
Interesting.
So,
and that makes sense because Kansas had 2 touchdowns.
2 defensive touchdowns.
That was the Kobe Bryant scoop and score where he just leveled Parker Kingston.
Yep.
And
he was never the same after that.
Yeah, no.
And then the pick 6 to start the third quarter.
Yeah. And I think the final outcome in that game was a 14-point difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a missed opportunity there.
BYU over the years.
Good stuff. Who else? Are we missing someone else?
Missing one more. Oklahoma.
Oh, wow.
Oklahoma only had 368 yards.
Wow.
I think part of it is because of quarterback injury.
Yes,
early
Dylan Gabriel went out. I think Jackson Arnold stepped in, and what was it? It was the third quarter, I think, or was it second?
I think it was late second. Yes, late second because I remember he didn't play in the second half, and that was kind of a story.
And Jackson Arnold now with Oklahoma, they almost lost last week to Houston. And Houston's not good.
Looked bad.
And Houston hung tough with Oklahoma. So, interesting. BYU, when you break it down like that, they're not as far off as you thought. Because there were games against West Virginia that just painted the numbers poorly for BYU. But this has been a defense that, again, was coming into this year improved. And we believe that year 2, it's going to take a big step forward. They are. And I really believe, guys, what we saw last week in Dallas will carry over week to week. I don't think it's a 1-week deal like it was in Arkansas. I think this is going to be a defense that is nasty every single week and can contend against anyone they face on the schedule. I really believe that.
Only caveat for me is I'm still leery about the defensive line depth. That group has to stay healthy. But if they do, I'm totally with
Nelson and Mangelson are critical.
Yeah.
They have to stay healthy. Batty, too.
Yep.
He can't lose an ear, as you heard earlier. He can't have that happen because they got to stay healthy, man. They are
How
critical.
do you protect against that? Not to get off the rails, but do you wear mittens over your ears into the helmet? I'm like,
skull cap?
Do you wear a cap like?
I think you got like the Nike skull caps.
Yeah, you just got to wear a cap that covers your ears, honestly.
It's a good point. I probably would go to that now because I wouldn't want to lose my ear anymore. It's wild.
It's not funny at all. Well, great.
Big win.
I'm feeling good. Thank you, Mitch. Thank you, Nate. And thank you to all of you Team Baiamonte listeners out there who represent the Italian. Matt Baiamonte, I do it for you. I love you guys. We should take a break. I'm getting a little out of control. We'll keep breaking down the Pokes and the Cougs right after this.
KSL Sports, KSL News Radio, Week 3 of BYU football as the Cougars get ready to take on the Wyoming Cowboys. And joining me is BYU punter Landon Rico. And yes, he's younger brother to Ryan Rico. And Landon, just kind of seeing you perform, want to get to know you a little bit here for Cougar Nation. How's this second year in the program been for you, now actually getting some game action?
For me, it's kind of just a dream come true, especially after last year being behind my brother. Seeing how he performed and now how he's performing in the NFL has really pushed me to be a better player, and I think it has helped, and we're able to see it in game, but it's just how I have been performing, and just keep trying on keep doing that every day, both in practice and then leading up to the games, and just letting instincts take over, and it's been great.
Was BYU a place you always wanted to play for?
Yeah, I mean, it's always kind of been something in the background of our family, and especially with Ryan, he was kind of the first of our family, and he led the way. And I switched up going from the University of Idaho to coming here.
And that's where your oldest brother was, right?
Yes, that is, yeah. My oldest brother was there, so he gave me the in there. But then I felt like BYU is the right place, and now I'm here, so it's a great time.
You came to BYU after serving a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Las Vegas. What was that like?
It was great. I would not trade it for the world. Being able to meet so many amazing people in that area was amazing. And especially right after my mission, I got to go back down there and watch the BYU Notre Dame football game, and that was something special because I got to see people from my mission, and then I got to see my brother perform, and it was a really great time.
How cool was it to see, we were talking before, but see your brother this past weekend in the NFL and already setting records?
Yeah, no, we always knew he was something special, just big leg, and especially seeing him first real game going out and showing out, we knew he had that in him, and he's just going to keep doing it. I mean, he's prepared his whole life for that, and now he's taking advantage of his opportunity.
What makes the Rico family so good at punting the football?
Got to give it up to our parents for putting us in sports, and obviously genetics are a big thing too. So all those combined have really led us to being successful in this sport.
Right now it's you and Sam also punting the football. What's kind of Coach Papinga laying out to you guys going into games, that it's just going to be split equally, or what's the expectation going into a given game?
So really, it's kind of based on situation when he wants us to go out, and it's been a good time just being able to know that we'll have opportunities throughout the game to go and prove ourselves, and we'll have more opportunities hopefully to separate ourselves from the group. And but it's been great just being able to get to know Sam more, and I feel like our relationship has really grown to where we're just friends and we're trying to go help the team, and I think we've done that so far.
And situation-wise, what is it kind of like the moment that kind of sets up for you to go out into the field and take on a punt?
I mean, that's really up to the coaches, and so we just got to trust they'll put us in at the right situation, and when we do have those opportunities, we just got to go make the most out of them.
How would you assess how you've played thus far? I think you've had 4 punts through 2 weeks. How do you feel like you've done so far?
I feel like I've done pretty great other than 1 punt, but kind of just have to put that behind us. It didn't lead to anything too bad, so I'm very grateful for our defense and the way that they've been able to perform, and our offense has helped us a ton as well. So I feel like I've been able to help our team be put in positions to win, and just got to keep supporting each other. It's a complimentary football game, so everyone helps everyone.
Yeah, the special teams group's pretty good with you, Sam, and then Will's had the game winner against SMU. It's a nice weapon for this BYU team to have that third phase playing pretty well.
Yeah, no, it's been great to see just the success for all of us, and that's really one thing that we really focus on within our specialist group is just we all support each other, and we got to put each other in the right situations to go and make the best plays. So.
Are you excited to go high in altitude? I mean, that's got to be nice for being a punter. That's got to get you excited, right?
Yeah, no, I've heard a lot of great things about going into Wyoming, and just the elevation itself helps the ball fly a little further. So just got to do a great job of getting great hang time and making sure it gives our gunners enough time to go and cover the punts.
What is the I don't know how you'd measure, maybe like the farthest punt you've had it during your time here at BYU in a practice or whatnot? Like, what is like the farthest punt you've had here?
I haven't really paid attention too much to the distance, but I think there was a practice where probably went 70 yards. But I think the biggest measurement for me is if I can get it above 42 yards and maybe a little bit more, and then really good hang time. That's all I really care about, is just giving our cover team the best chance to either get a fair catch or make a play.
It's nice to have a guy like McKenzie here who's walking by. He's the gunner on the team. Last thing for you, I got to ask you, on your bio, it says that you've had 5 perfect bowling games. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is accurate. I would consider myself a pretty good bowler, avid bowler. Cool. But yeah, that's something I like to do in my free time. And
is one of the 5 recent?
Not super recently, because I haven't been bowling quite as much, but as soon as I got back from my mission, within a month, I had bowled 2 perfect games. Wow. So it's a great time.
Did you start at a young age bowling, or just kind of a hobby?
I started right around like 12 years old. Just like we had like some free games each day, so we'd go bowl. Like that was me and my older brother Ryan. We did that every day, and eventually I got into a league, and the rest is history.
Well, that's cool, Landon. Well, great seeing you out there on the field. Good chatting with you, and best of luck this week and the season ahead.
Thank you.
We're taking a break. This show brought to you by Any Hour Services, feature sponsor here of Cougar Sports Saturday, right here on KSL News Radio.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete. Another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports.
Left wing for 3. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Brought to you by Any Hour Services, Electrical Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Welcome back into KSL News Radio and KSL Sports. Mitch Harper here. BYU football getting ready for week 3 against a familiar program. A rival, the Wyoming Cowboys. And to break down the Pokes, no one better to cover Wyoming football and give insight into the Cowboys. Cody Tucker, longtime friend of mine. We've known each other for a long time. He's the publisher of 7220sports.com. And founder, he's also the host of the Kickoff Show on KOWB leading up to Wyoming football broadcast. Cody, good to chat with you, man. We hung out at Mountain West Media Days, and it got me excited for this matchup. I'm looking forward to this chat.
Absolutely, Mitch. I appreciate having me on, and it's hilarious. I tell my friends how we met as little punks on MySpace talking smack back and forth about this very rivalry. So it's just hilarious to me that we're in this spot we're in now.
It is crazy, and if you think about that, it's about 20 years ago, and I heard you on your radio show talking about how the Wyoming 2004 team was being honored. They beat UCLA in the Vegas Bowl. And I remember that game vividly because back in the day, always following everything about the Mountain West teams and how things have changed so much in college football, and one for our lives, but then also just college football at large. It's kind of surreal how things have changed. But I think one thing that hasn't changed is the hatred of BYU from Wyoming faithful. Is that still fair?
That's very, very fair, and it's unfortunate, Mitch, that this matchup's lost a little luster because of the Cowboys' rough start. But don't get it twisted, man. Everybody had this this day circled, this game circled. It's going to be a sellout. Wyoming fans have not forgotten BYU. I don't know if BYU fans have forgotten Wyoming, but the feeling is not mutual.
What has created that? Is it just simply that when BYU had success, or what's created the hatred of BYU? I'm sure we could go on for multiple editions of this interviews in the show, but just maybe a few things that you feel are the pillars of the hatred. You think?
Yeah, I think it's different by generations. You talk to Wyoming players that played in the early '60s, and they would tell you that BYU wasn't even a rival. They weren't good. It wasn't even a tough game. It was just a quick beat down in Provo. And then you worried about other teams like Colorado State and Utah State, New Mexico, Utah. And then all of a sudden, you talk to the following generation, and it's the Black 14 and everything that went on there where, the 14 black players were kicked off Wyoming's team. And because they wanted to protest BYU and some racial policies of the Mormon church. And then I think what really sparked it, Mitch, is the fact that BYU got really good and Wyoming couldn't recruit a black player all of a sudden. And Wyoming was the team that was playing in the Sugar Bowl back in those days. Then all of a sudden BYU's good. And Lavelle Edwards, my generation, then it's Lavelle Edwards. And then it's just pissed off because BYU's really good. And, you and I talked at Mountain West Media Days about the quarterback situation there. BYU's had a good quarterback my entire life, and I'm 41 years old today. And I have never lived a day on this earth where BYU has not had a solid or unbelievable quarterback. So, the winning. And then, of course, it's the Wyoming and Utah are just polar opposite type of states in a lot of regards. Here it's, beer drinking, ranching, tough, and there, we think of it as choir boy stuff and no cussing, no drinking, no nothing. So it's a lot different. And it's just always been that way. And I think, you can even get down to the blue and white pretty uniforms that are so Yankee-ish, in my opinion, where it's just, I don't know, man. It's a lot of animosity. But honestly, I can speak for myself that winning has been, BYU's winning has been something that I have not enjoyed in my lifetime. And, it's funny. I always tell people, Mitch, that growing up, like about 99.9% of the people listening to your show right now, I was not necessarily allowed to cuss growing up, but as long as that cuss word was followed by BYU or Colorado State, it was okay in my house.
Well, that's great insight. I really appreciate that. And I think it's going to be fun to have this matchup. I will say, like Craig Bowl 2 years ago. I didn't think that, I thought BYU would probably cancel this game once they had the moment they go to the Big 12. But Tom Holmoe wanted to keep it, and it's here, and it's going to be a striped-out stadium in War Memorial, sold-out crowd. But Wyoming, as you noted, comes in with some struggles, 0-2. And this is, and I think for Cougar fans listening to this, if they haven't been paying attention, Wyoming was very successful these last 7 to 8 years under Craig Bowl, consistently going to bowl games. Last year they won 9 games. So this is completely different than what you guys have been experiencing the past decade.
Yeah, no question. And to your earlier point, I want to say, big ups to BYU's administration for keeping this game. It's awesome to see. I thought for sure it wasn't going to happen. And I think another thing that's making this game so exciting for everybody, Mitch, is the fact that I think we're all under the understanding that, we might not ever see BYU and Laramie, Wyoming ever again. Yep. So it's a pretty special moment. But yeah, really, really rough start for the Cowboys, really uncharacteristic things that are bringing this team down right now. Under Craig Bowl, you're right. I mean, it was perennial winning, went to 6 bowl games in his 10 years and, obviously not counting the COVID year, but and he had a mess to clean up when he got here, of course. But it's been really bizarre these first 2 games. I'm talking 16 penalties. That's just not a staple of anything a Craig Bowl team ever did. A lot of bonehead mistakes. I mean, and it's the little ones that you might not even notice, Mitch. Like last week, they don't get the punter out quick enough to get a punt off, so Idaho fields it before the new 2-minute warning, and essentially the Cowboys lost a timeout, and they lost a lot of seconds off the clock when they're trying to come back. And that might not be a big thing to some people, but I mean, it's huge. Little things like that are huge. They have to blow a timeout because they only have 10 men in on a field goal. And it's just, I know it's a new staff. It's a new head coach, a first-time head coach at any level in Jay Sawvell. So there's going to be some growing pains, but I think, Evan Swoboda's had a really rough go of things. The junior quarterback out of Mesa, Arizona, who spent a year at Snow College there in Utah. He's had a really rough go of it. And it's hard because we should be saying, Evan Swoboda's that was only his 3rd career start, right? I mean, that's what we should be saying. We should be saying, Jay Sawvell's this is going to be his 3rd game he's ever been a head coach in. But when you have a 9-win team and you have 18 returning starters back, and you say in your introductory press conference that I'm just here to grab the baton and finish the race that Bull started, starting this way where you're not competitive in Tempe and where you lose to an FCS school at home, and now you've got a rival on deck, it's just not the ideal start here in Laramie.
Is there any chance that there could be the backup quarterback gets inserted in? I know that Swoboda was, Sawvell had some bold, commentary about Evan in week 2 in his press conference where he's going to be a really good quarterback here eventually. Yeah. I mean, is there any change? There chance there could be a change at quarterback?
Boy, I think things would have to be going sideways pretty good, Mitch, because, you think about that too. I mean, you give up on the kid, you're likely killing his career, his confidence, the whole shebang in one shot. So, the coaching staff, they're the ones who are thinking, hey man, this will be his 4th career start. I think we all got a little spoiled's not the right word, but we watched Evan Swoboda go in and start a game in front of 100,000 people last year in Austin, Texas. And that was a 10-10 game going into the 4th quarter. He really handled things. He was really poised. He made some nice plays. And that kind of made you think, okay, this kid's going to be really good once he gets the reins. And that just hasn't been the case so far. And you can point to wide receivers that are very young and inexperienced, guys not getting open downfield. And another thing that hasn't been a Craig Bowl staple is, the offensive line has been shaky so far. So how it goes. A quarterback, they get all the love, but they also get all the blame. And it has been a really tough start, but it's a slippery slope, in my opinion, Mitch. If you're going to pull Evan Swoboda, things have got to be going sideways so badly, and the score has to be really lopsided, in my opinion, or you're going to crush the kid's confidence, and then you've basically given up on him.
It's going to be a fun matchup. 7 p.m. kickoff on Saturday night. CBS Sports Network. You can listen to the call on KSL News Radio, the BYU call, of course. And I got to ask you, Cody, what is your favorite memory of BYU Wyoming games of the past? And yes, you can pick a Wyoming win. Our listeners won't be offended. They're expecting that. But what is your favorite BYU Wyoming memory?
Well, it's gross saying it. There hasn't been many wins in my lifetime. '88, I was only 5 years old. That's one everybody points to. It was the first night game ever in War Memorial Stadium. And Ty Detmer got in that game late. And I believe the Cowboys finished that night with 8 or 9 sacks. And I obviously was too little for that one. But if I could point at one, I would say probably 2003. That was Joe Glenn turning things around his first year in Laramie. They won 13-10, I believe. They tore down the field goal post. Took them. They're still part of the field goal post hanging in the bar in downtown Laramie right now. But,
oh, really?
Yeah, that one was pretty special. But also in, I believe, 1999, the Cowboys got him at night with David Dimmel in a night game there in Laramie. But I've been to probably 7, 8, 9 games in Provo, and I have never left happy one time. So it's been a lopsided rivalry. I wish we could say we all miss you guys a lot. We don't, but really excited for this game. And also, your buddies up in Salt Lake City are coming to Laramie next year.
Yep.
So this might be the last 2 times we get to see the Cougars and Utes in Laramie. And, whatever happens, we're looking forward to it. We're glad these games weren't canceled. Thankful that they're gonna take place, especially here in Laramie.
It's going to be fun, and to see BYU and Wyoming square off probably for the last time coming up on Saturday night. Cody, always appreciate it. And, again, follow Cody's work at 7220sports.com, founder, publisher. Also listen to his kickoff show coming up on Saturday on KOWB in Laramie. If you're going to be going to the BYU game out there, listen to him. So, Cody, appreciate the time, and keep in touch, man.
Appreciate you, Mitch. Looking forward to seeing you out here, buddy.
BYU football game week 3. Talking with Waylon Lapuaho here on the offensive line. And Waylon, how do you – Year 2 here at BYU. You switched over from right guard to left guard. How's that been? I think you played left guard, though, at Utah State. Is that right?
Yeah, so I actually started the season out last year at left guard, and then I blew out my elbow, so, it was probably better to me to play the other side. So it's not a bad switch, so I've been able to convert pretty easily.
So the elbow injury, I think that was Kansas game, right?
Yeah.
And then you had that injury, and then so that kind of led you to switching over to the left side?
Right. Just better for the elbow and, just a little bit easier in pass pro and run blocking for me because the injury wasn't completely healed, but it helped out.
How do you describe your style as an offensive lineman? And I ask this because I've heard you're one of the more nasty offensive linemen in this program.
I would just say aggressive and full-on effort, just trying to play through the whistle and give me my best effort, even though maybe my technique might not be the best, but trying to mess up the dude across from me.
What? How would you? I think you were asked earlier, but how would you just assess the first 2 weeks of this offensive line? On the outside, it feels like you guys have made improvements from last year. But what's your assessment as someone who's in the trenches?
Yeah, I would say there's definitely improvements from last year, but definitely not how we thought we would play and how we want to play. So, it's week 1 and 2. We're not really like tripping on it, but we want to play better and get more rushing yards and all that, open up the pass game.
Do you guys feel like you got better, though, last week?
Oh, for sure. I think we're getting better and better each week coming along, so that's a plus.
It's what's been with Coach Woods, what's his style of coaching? And it just feels like it's just working, the messaging, everything, the accountability. What's his style that's just working with this group? Yeah,
I think you just said it. It's his accountability and him not letting you slip, you know what I mean? I think offensive line is that position where we're big guys. We could get lackadaisical at sometimes, and he just makes sure we're always, trying to sharpen our tools. You either gonna sharpen it dull or you're gonna sharpen it sharp. So he always makes sure we're on it.
What led to you wanting to come to BYU after being a talented freshman, started every game at Utah State? What was it about here that said you wanted to be part of this program? I mean, BYU just in the whole. My dad is actually a big BYU fan, so that I had to play a little part in it too. And then just what BYU produces up front. They always have guys going into the next level, and that's my dream, of course. So, I thought it was the best option, and to play for a home state team, it's great. What worked? What is it about your skill set that just worked at the college level where from the moment you've arrived in college football, you've been a starter? Not many guys can say that through year 3. I mean, what do you feel? What do you attribute that to?
Man, I'd honestly say my brother and my pops and just having a chip on my shoulder. I'm going to Utah State. I didn't get a lot of offers out of high school, so I had a lot to prove at Utah State. And, and I think that drove me to be who I was up there, and then helped me out definitely now too. So
it's great to hear and talk with Waylon Apuaho here on KSL Sports, KSL News Radio. The offense going into this week against Wyoming, still confident going into this thing with Jake as quarterback and just the offense at large that you guys can produce at a high level?
Oh, yeah, so super confident. We just need to execute and have all 11 guys on the same page and just do our job. And the game's simple once you do that.
With the running back situation kind of murky, with Kalani just making it clear that LJ's doubtful and Hinckley Flau's doubtful, how critical is it for the offensive lineman up front to create those running holes and pass for Miles and all the rest of the running backs?
I think our running back room is deep, and of course it's going to be on us to make the holes. So, but I don't think there's a drop off between running back 1 or running back 3 or even 4. So I think we'll be fine.
Well, Waylon, it's been a pleasure chatting with you today. I always tell people, one of the most underrated guys in this program. From the moment you've arrived, you just tore it up. So keep up the success and look forward to catching up down the road.
Thank you.
Nothing gets me more fired up than some intense offensive line talk.
We need to get a clip of you doing this at practice someday, of you getting in your offensive lineman stance and the kickback block. I feel like we need to. That's like the bat single to trench talk. It's just back kick, boom, boom, boom.
I have hit up Brett Pine and Kenny Cox. One day, I want to, hopefully in a spring ball, because spring ball, it's low pressure, just suit up and be dressed as an offensive lineman. Have me as number 64, or that's Braden Kime's number, so that's a prominent number. Let's say 62. Well, that was a nice amount. I'm just kidding. Usually those numbers where no one wants. Put me in one of those numbers.
Let's get you number 46.
And I'm sitting in the back room with the pencil, the notepad. Well, probably the iPad. Let's go Apple Pencil. Let's be digital here. But I'm going through the day, and then practice. Someone like a Tyler Batty just wrecks me. Jack Kelly just comes trucking. I'm doing my back kick step, and they just truck me. And I'm trying to block them. And let's see how it goes. ETN's coaching me up. I want to go through that one of these days.
I don't want to see that, dude. You'd be in concussion protocol.
But legally, they're
you would get thrown into another dimension.
I want to experience it, though. I just want to get tossed around. I think that'd be awesome. Waylon would probably do that as well. He'd probably wreck me if I was going up against him as a defensive lineman. We appreciate Waylon hopping on the show. We appreciate Beehive Mills being part of the program. We got the chance to enjoy the products from Beehive Mills the past few weeks and some of the best meal prep around.
Low stress, low preparation, and something that I love about Beehive Meals, Mitch, is it's low thought, and that's a positive, because there are so many things that demand our attention in today's day and age. It's hard to carve out time for all the things that time deserves. Dinner's one of those times where I think we all wish we had more time to sit at the table, talk as family, review the day as family, but yet we're often running from this, running from that, trying to do all these different things. Beehive Meals makes it easy, I think, to gather around the dinner table.
Yeah, beehivemeals.com. Just go to the website. You'll see the whole menu. They go to Arizona, Colorado, Idaho, Nevada, of course, here in Utah. And you can just get the delivery started. You'll see the layout of what they've got on tap. It's great. It's easy. And it's a Utah-based company that is partnered with BYU Athletics. So they're fueling BYU athletes that you see compete all the time.
Listen to this September menu, which you can get right now on Beehive Meals. Creamy lemon chicken, sign me up. Chicken burrito bowls, chicken noodle soup.
That's a good one.
Parmesan herb chicken, cider pork roast. Let's go, Mitch, as the kids like to say. Let's go.
I'm ready. Beehive Meals, they're always ready to go, and they make it easy for you. Minimal prep meals with Beehive Meals. We appreciate them being on board with us here at Cougar Sports Saturday. Taking the break, more from Laramie as the Cougs and the Pokes, the 80th meeting all time in this once heated rivalry, now renewed today here in Week 3 of college football.
It's Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete and another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports. KSL Sports.
Left wing for 3. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Brought to you by Any Hour Services, Electrical, Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Welcome back into Cougar Sports Saturday, coming to you from Laramie, Wyoming. Front Range. First time BYU has traveled to Laramie since 2009. Mitch Harper, Matt Baiamonte with you. The radio call tonight can be heard at 7 p.m. here on KSL. Pregame starts at 5. Greg Wrubell, Hans Olsen, Mitch Juergens, and the crew, they'll be holding it down inside the War Memorial press box. I'll be in the floor to their left, I believe. I got to get familiar with the press box here at War Memorial, but it's going to be a lot of fun between BYU and the Pokes, the 80th meeting all time between these former conference rivals. And let's break down this game a little bit further, Matt, with 3 and out.
3 and out. A quick hit look at BYU's next opponent on the gridiron. It's 3 and out on Cougar Sports Saturday.
3 and out, and as well as Cougar Sports Saturday, is brought to you by Any Hour Electrical, Plumbing, Heating, and Air. We do this on game days, Cougar Nation, because this is a great way for us to help you dive a little bit deeper into the opponent. We'll give you a key stat to keep in mind, some players to watch, and some bold predictions as well to get you primed and ready for the matchup. Like any drive, and let's hope that these drives against the Pokes have a lot more longevity than they did last week against the Mustangs. You know where they start.
First down.
That's another Cougar first down. So here on first down,
That was more like a dog. Sorry, my Cougar impression's not good. That was better.
First down, we give you a stat to watch in today's game. I'll start things off, Matt. My number to watch is 22.1%. That's the havoc rate. If you're wondering what's havoc rate, that's a defensive metric that highlights sacks, tackles for loss, pass breakups, deflections. So 22% of the plays, they're causing havoc. And by comparison, last year they were at 15%. So big jump so far through 2 weeks for this BYU football defense. They continue to create the havoc.
And last week in the havoc department, they were at 10 if you look at tackles for loss, hurries and sacks.
Yes.
So, and that's a number that Kelly Papinga told us a few weeks ago. They were nearly undefeated last year when they got to that number. And so that's a deep cut for you, Cougar Nation at home. Look at hurries and sacks, and if you're getting double digits, statistically speaking, you're feeling good about your odds to win. For me, I'm going to stay on the defensive side. 25%. What could that possibly represent? That's BYU's defense's ability to hold people on third down. Only 25% conversion rate for SMU and Southern Illinois. That is a great statistic. Look, BYU's third down conversion number, I don't want to tell you what it is, but I will anyways. It's 100 offensively. It's low. It's very low after the SMU game. But if the defense can continue to force punts and turnovers and keep teams out of the end zone, that's a good thing for BYU as they're trying to work through some kinks offensively. So that is a key number. In previous years, Mitch, you look at that number, and when it's around 50%, you're thinking loss, 8 of 16. And against Southern Illinois, it wasn't that good. It was not good enough against Southern Illinois. Big improvement against SMU.
Second down.
All right, here in second down, it's players to watch. Go ahead, Matt. Who do you have as guys to watch for BYU today?
For me, offensively, I think that Mata'ava Ta'ase is becoming a nice red zone weapon, someone to keep an eye on in the red zone. Here's the weird thing about this BYU receiving group right now. A lot of people have a catch or two. Not a lot have more than 2. So I like that they've distributed. 14 different players have caught a pass this season through 2 games. However, I think Chase Roberts still leads the team in receptions after that big performance against Southern Illinois. Ta'ase doesn't have a lot of receptions, but he's got those 2 touchdowns. He's a valuable weapon inside the red zone. I'd like to see him plus Chase and maybe one other guy at least be at 4 catches or more. I like the distribution. I want the top guys to have a few more targets and catches than everyone else. I'm nitpicking here, but also the offense hasn't played that great through the first 2 weeks, so maybe I'm not nitpicking. But Ta'ase is someone in the red zone. Keep an eye on. I love that pass last week from Retzloff to him that converted into a touchdown. So I think, has emerged if I can say this, with such low catches, has he emerged as tight end 1?
I'd still say it's Keanu Hill, but I think that Taase, at a minimum, has evolved to the point where opposing defenses are not just saying they're running, because last year that's what it was.
Yep.
When him or Ray Paulo came into the game, they were running the football. And for Taase to now be a factor into the passing game, credit to Kevin Gilbride, the tight end coach, and the work by Taase to have a better understanding of this offense and be more of a factor in the receiving game. I think that's a good pick. For me, I'm going to go with Blake Mingleson, defensive tackle for BYU. He has been such an underrated guy. When I spoke to him in fall camp, I talked to him about the NFL, and he was very, shy or bashful about it. He didn't want to get into that because he honestly admitted that he had to prove it still. I'm telling you, this guy's got the ability to be an NFL player because he is an athlete. He's added weight. I think it's been a positive thing for his NFL draft profile to be a D tackle, because if you can still play with that speed that he has, he was once a track and field guy, a rangy preferred walk-on athlete out of Juab High School, and he's maintained that athleticism from the interior. He is a force for BYU. You've got to keep him healthy. He's going to be someone to watch. And then, of course, I've mentioned him this week, but Pokayawa Honga, I just want to see what he can do. I'm not saying that he's going to come in and change this BYU's offense, but I just think there's something special about him, that he can be a playmaker out of the backfield, because without LJ and without Falau Rapati, you're lacking playmakers right now. Miles has done it once, and luckily it was against Wyoming 2 years ago, but still, I got some real questions about that running back unit, and it creates some opportunities for a name like Pokayawa Honga to emerge in today's game.
That is a deep cut. Okay, this is not a negative, but I don't want to see him very much, because I want to see Miles Davis and Enoch Nawahine stay healthy and be effective. I feel like if you got to go down to Sione Moa and Pokayawa Honga, the run game is hurting.
I just think that Honga is a really good receiver out of the backfield, and they could dial up some stuff for him.
Why haven't we seen that more this year?
I think they sincerely wanted to redshirt him, and I think that was an underrated clip this week from coaches, is that they have so much confidence in the top end of their roster that they were considering in week 2 and 3 guys to redshirt. Usually it's always been, you just got to have them all, because we can't bank on anyone to sit out. There's a real trust in the top end of the roster. You keep that group healthy, you can redshirt a Pokayawa Honga, and then you think, oh man, you could have him for 4 years or whatever it may be. I know there's no guarantees in the portal era, but I think it was an indirect way of saying they really like the top end of their roster. But now Honga has got a chance to play today here in Laramie.
Third down.
Bold prediction time. Earlier, Mitch, and we'll get to our score predictions next, so we're not going to reveal that yet. Earlier, you said maybe 24-3, and I'm still disgusted by that comment. And I think that it's going to be much higher scoring than that, and that's why my bold prediction is I think Jake Retzloff and this offense, they connect on a 60-plus yard touchdown pass. I don't believe in this Pokes team at all. Like, it's a nice narrative. Oh, the rivalry, that's all fine and good. But do you have the guys? Wyoming has been gashed by the transfer portal since it became a thing. They've got a dude playing at USC, for heaven's sakes. They need those guys if they're going to be springing upsets against the likes of BYU. Even last year's team that upset Texas Tech. And look, we know that Tech team underachieved. That team was much more talented than this team. I don't like the quarterback play. Having your best player out, think about that. If we were talking about Tyler Batty or Jacob Robinson out, that would be tough for BYU. I think they've got the depth to overcome it against a team like Wyoming. But Wyoming doesn't have the depth to overcome a loss at the running back position when he's your best player. It's going to be a beatdown. I'm calling it now. Score prediction coming up next. But Retzloff and the offense, I think they're going to be much improved, and I like an explosive touchdown from them.
Here's my bold prediction. We see Gary Bohannon for a drive.
That is bold.
I think we see Gary for a drive.
So you're saying the offense is going to underwhelm, and you want to see Gary?
I think it could be early, and I think that we could see
early
on in the game, and then maybe Gary goes out for a drive.
Then what happens though?
And then if Gary doesn't perform, then back to Jake.
Do
what the SMU deal was.
You cannot do that. One drive, it needs.
I'm not saying just one, maybe two, but I think that we see for at least one drive we see Gary Bohannon.
I am so
now I will say
confident
this: it's not going to be like the Southern Illinois drive. I'm saying that we see him in a meaningful drive. That's my bold prediction.
That is so bold. I am willing to.
That's the down here. Bold prediction. I'm going bold, baby.
I'm not going to do this, but if I could, and I can't, I might put my mortgage up against the odds on this because I don't see it happening. I think Wyoming is so bad that if that were to happen, sound the alarm. There's problems, and I just don't think.
I don't think it'd be a sound the alarm. Jake's still feeling himself out a bit. I mean, I still think, like, you're going to have...
How would you like, as the BYU insider, to be told this week at Waco, in a couple weeks, you're taking it off, we're sending some newbie that just got here, but hey, you'll be back for the week after.
Look,
it would shake you, Mitch.
I think
you cannot do that to Jake unless he keeps making the mistakes. I do not believe in this one bit. That would be crazy.
If they have 2 3-and-outs... start the game, I could see Gary coming in. And then if he has 3 and out, then go back to Jake.
No way. This is preposterous what I'm hearing from this guy. 2 3-and-outs, and you're yanked. You're 2-0. You just let a game-winning drive.
Look,
and a 3-and-out.
I'm going bold here. It's very bold. But I think
it's the boldest bold you've ever had. We've been doing this show for years.
I'm going super bold here.
There is no chance this hits. And if this hits, then Cougar Nation is going to be lit on Monday.
I don't want it to hit. Okay? I'm just saying it's bold. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to say Gary plays a drive.
Wow. I did not see that coming. My goodness. That was intense. What? Jeez. I need to regroup after hearing that, Mitch. That was something else.
Maybe they throw in a wrinkle. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe they're having so much success and they throw them in the second quarter. Maybe they're up 35-zip, Matt. And then they throw them in.
The team that you just referenced, by the way, this makes my point all the more valid. They just scrapped this 2-quarterback thing. They said going forward, Ken Jennings is the quarterback. Preston Stone, you out. They're no longer doing this mix guys in who's got the hot hand.
Look,
those days are done.
I'm not saying 2 QB system. I'm just saying that he plays a drive maybe.
There's nothing to gain from that unless you're willing to make the switch. Woo! Okay, there we go.
It was bold. It was out there. I'm putting myself out there.
All right. Cougar Sports Saturday brought to you by Any Hour Electrical, Plumbing, Heating, and Air. I need some air after that bold take. I'm lightheaded. I didn't see this going the way that it did. We'll take the break. On the other side, score predictions. We'll wrap up the show. BYU and Wyoming coming up later tonight. You can hear it right here on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back in, Cougar Sports Saturday from Laramie. I've cooled Matt off. Look, I know it was bold.
Can't be cooled off after that.
I know it was bold. Look, and I think in the break we were having a good conversation with our producer, Nate Slack, who we bring in on studio, in studio as well.
His point is horrible. We're not going to air this on the air. I mean, you're welcome to say it, but I'm going to strongly disagree. Say it.
You don't want to roll out Gary Bohannon in the middle of Big 12 play if you have to, and he hasn't played in 2 years.
And Matt, what if BYU's up 28-0? Jake,
first off,
Jake's high flying in the first quarter. They're up 28-zip. Give Gary a drive.
Okay, if that is what we're talking about, which you know we're not.
Hey, I have the right to. I've got a lot of options at quarterback.
Okay.
I got a lot of ideas.
Can you pinpoint one time in the Kalani era where you were rocking and rolling, you brought the backup in, and you said, keep doing your thing, run the offense? No, you can't, because there's never been an example. I would be all for that. If you're up 28-0, bring in Gary, let's run the show, let's get the reps. That world doesn't exist for this BYU program. I would love it to exist. I love it. Sign me up. But it doesn't. If they were like me, I don't know if you're this way.
So you're leaning into my bold prediction too.
No, your bold prediction has nothing to do with that. Your bold prediction was 2 3-and-outs, and then you see what Gary can
I
do.
was not saying 3-and-outs.
It's on. We have a record of it. It's in the last segment.
I was saying, what I was trying to say was that if there is some struggles, I think that there will be a willingness to play Bohannon.
And that's not what you said. That's the point I'm trying to make, producer Nate. Now, I would love for him to have some snaps to get tuned up, but that's not happening.
I feel like Cougar Nation wants to see Gary.
Of course Cougar Nation wants to see Gary because Cougar Nation is notoriously a backup quarterback-friendly university. And I don't think it's been going on for 30 years.
And I don't think it's just like they want Jake to fail. I think it's just that they are intrigued by Gary. Like there's this kind of just like, what has he got? Like, what could he be? Because here's my point, too, is that I'm
intrigued by the Barbie sequel, but we don't know if it's going to be any good.
What on earth did you just bring up? Look, here. You do not want a situation where you go a season and you kind of know what the quarterback is. And Jake might be a case of he is who he is. I think there's still room to grow. I think he's improved. But there's still the mistakes. You don't want it to be like 2012 where you've had a quarterback all year and then you get a taste of a guy at the end of the season.
James Lark.
And then you go, what could have been?
James Lark is the perfect example.
And that's kind of the thing where I think if there's an opportunity to put Gary in, whether good or bad, put him in because you want to see what you've got. And to Nate's point, it would be nice to have some knowledge of what he can do at this level before you get into the guts of Big 12 play.
We're not talking in reality. This is a pointless conversation. BYU doesn't do this. And so when you talk about bringing Gary in, it's going to be because the offense is struggling.
Matt, they've never had a quarterback unit where it's two guys that for up until about the last week of camp, they were 50-50 in snaps in first team. They've never had that in Kalani's era. So this is way more this is way closer than it's ever been at quarterback. And they have made it clear they feel like they've got two quarterbacks that can win ball games for them. If they really believe that, then there's got to be a feeling like, hey, Gary, go in.
If you have two, you have none. Sorry, I cut you off. What were you saying?
I can't wait to come in on Monday for Cougar Nation. And Gary Bohannon scored 2 touchdowns in the second quarter. And Matt apologizes on air.
Look,
I will never apologize. I don't care what happens tonight.
Let's hope Jake just thrives. Let's hope he thrives.
Yes, we need.
That's what everyone wants.
Yes. Well, yeah, I'm glad you bring that up because I think we do need to reemphasize the best thing for BYU is for Jake to work.
Right.
Because then you get him next season as a senior.
So that's what we all want. And you know what we all want is some score predictions that maybe consist of BYU wins. Let's start with intern Allie.
We can skip Mitch now. He's got 24-3 on the record book. Right?
Allie, what's your score prediction?
Hold on. Before we get to that, chime in on the Gary Bohannon bombshell that was dropped here in the last segment.
I think it'd be cool to see him get in. Maybe.
Under what circumstances? 2 3-and-outs?
Hopefully BYU has a big lead and they feel comfortable letting him get some snaps in and BYU gets a win.
I'd love to see that. We just know that it's not reality.
And if it's a situation where he plays late, let him throw the football.
Yes, I'm all for that. I'm just trying to tell all the beautiful people at home that's not the Kalani MO.
This is just a different quarterback unit. That's all I'm saying.
That's fair. That's fair.
Allie, what's your score prediction for BYU Wyoming today in Laramie?
All right, I'm hoping that BYU does get a good lead, and I think that the score will be 31-10. Okay. BYU wins.
I like that.
31-10 is right in the area that in a casual conversation you could spin it good or bad.
Yeah. I think it's a win. It's a road win. You get in, get out, stay healthy. You take that.
Keep your helmets on.
Keep your helmet on.
Producer Nate?
I'm going to go 34-7. And that's because I went back and I watched the entire Wyoming-Idaho game. Wyoming was bad. Bad. And I think because
Why would you do that to yourself? There's better things to do in life.
I watched it too. It was a nasty game.
It was bad. Idaho had 5 or 6 sacks. I think the defense that BYU showed last week against SMU is going to come. I think the guys are excited to be kind of in a hostile environment. I think it's a good prepper for Utah down the road, but I think BYU is going to thrive in this type of environment. BYU winning big 34-7.
44-6. I like a domination. I think you feel good. Retzlaff has a really nice game. Look, it's going to take more than a win against Wyoming for anyone to feel all in on Jake Retzlaff. He's got to beat some teams coming up the next couple of weeks.
K-State next week.
K-State would, if you were to beat K-State, I think it would call off the dogs, so to speak.
Right.
So it doesn't really matter what he does in this game from a good perspective. He can't, if he's bad, then the world we've all discussed recently is going to come to pass a lot sooner than we want it to. So 44-6, I just think this Cowboys team is bad. I think this defense is healthy. They're good. They're going to shut them down. No touchdowns scored by Wyoming, and we're all feeling good about a big one next Saturday night.
Wyoming 6 points, 2 field goals, or 1 touchdown?
2 field goals,
okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with BYU 28, Wyoming 9. I'm going to stay with the field goal theme, and Wyoming gets held to 3 field goals. They've got a good kicker like SMU. Not as good as him, but still good that they feel like they can go up to 50, 52 yards with this kicker. So I believe there's going to be some trust with that kicker, and I think BYU's defense holds them out of the end zone. BYU escapes with a 28-9 victory. Do you feel good about that? I don't know. I think Cougar fans will be fine, content, as long as they stay healthy.
28-9, it would feel like last week felt. Like good, but not good enough.
Yeah, I think that's just – I think to expect anything like 44. I think that's
Arizona State, which stunk to the high heavens last year, racked up 48. Think about that, okay?
I think Arizona State's legit.
I do too.
I think
much
they're good.
improved. They're not the worst team in the Big 12, but come on now. Arizona State.
So are we thinking that Wyoming is worse than Southern Illinois? They could be.
Yeah, I am.
They might
be
thinking
that.
So, and look, that score is just maybe a little bit worrisome on my end, just maybe fear of road, and I'm yet to kind of trust the BYU offense to tear it up on the road. But 28-9, I'd take that, and you go to 3-0 and set up Big 12 play. But they got to go get it done, and I'm excited to see what they do tonight here in Laramie, War Memorial Stadium, first time since 2009. Today's coverage here on Cougar Sports Saturday brought to you by Any Hour Services. Appreciate them sponsoring Cougar Sports Saturday. We will have full coverage on KSLSports.com, the KSL Sports app, and listen tonight to BYU football here on KSL News Radio, your legacy home of the Cougars.